Good morning. It is the Skyjack Watching Humans Point Raise podcast. I am Skylar Thomas. This is my
Jack
co-host, Jack Gescheit.
Geschichte says something.
I'm the only person who's ever gotten it right the first try, and he still doesn't trust me to say it correctly.
No, I just like playing with it, man. But thank you, Skyward. Good morning. And
you were having fun playing with your own mispronunciations of your name?
well, you get trained to do it since going to school and not kindergarten maybe, but second or third grade when kids are smart enough to get playful or snotty. Good morning, Terry Forrester just became a member, so thank Terry Forrester. Excuse me, Forrester.
Hi, Terry. Thank you very much.
Very cool. Please don't be offended, Terry Forrester. We will be talking about foresters, but not your fine family lineage, but about the profession, which I like to call these days deforesting and deforesters, since that's basically what they do is reduce the amount of forest cover.
Jack, you'll be so pleased to hear that I enjoyed watching a masticator in action right here in another national park unit just last week.
Where were you? And by the way, just before I ask you that question, just a bit of housekeeping. Today we're going to talk about vegetation management and masticators and stuff, and we have some videos to show you. I was suggested by a watcher of a podcast, tell people what they're getting into before we do our few minutes of chit chat. But that's the topic of today. And also an advertisement for next Tuesday, which is August 26th. We have special guest Gary Yourofsky on, a very, very famous vegan and animal rights activist and activist really, that people outside the vegan world don't know, but he's quite a compelling speaker. So please join us next week. We'll be running at least 90 minutes, an hour and a half on that show, if not more. So with that,
should be a pretty interesting show.
Exactly. So anyway, tell me, I am curious to hear where did you
Well, it was I'm warming up for your topic today because Jack, Mr. Tree Spirit, wants to talk about what I kind of thought was the plant version of what we talked about, what I talked about Friday with Leah, the Humane-Washing. And now they're using all these terms to try and make people feel better about what is still the same thing, deforestation, reduction of trees. But before we do that, I want to do my daily, weekly dose of speciesism. And I see this nearby when I go, actually, it's right across the street from the native plant shop that I go to. And I thought, why not just show it, especially after having someone come on and comment in retaliation to Leah having a problem with, it won't put up the Apple thing. Someone came on to the comments and was going after Leah for criticizing Dr. Temple.
Temple Grandin.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. She famous for, helping cows in the industry have a nicer time before they're sent down the chute to their death. So what was the defense? What was the criticism of what Leah had to say, which obviously was pro-animal?
Well, I thought it was one of the more embarrassing aspects of it to me was just thinking that because she has a doctoral degree that alone meant you have to listen to this person. And I'm like, you just told me how dumb you are if you think that PhDs need to be listened to without question. I know a lot of people with PhDs who don't use them for good things, and I know a lot of PhDs who can't even use the English language properly, and that's not because it's English as a second language.
It's a great point and a great topic, and it's really tricky these days because I respect PhDs for the work they do and brilliant people, many, and accomplished academically. But as you just said so compactly, just don't listen to them without questioning also. Because the trouble is if you just say, well, you have a PhD, who cares? Then you have our growing idiocracy in this country, which doesn't respect higher education, which I really do. But just because you have a higher education degree doesn't make everything you say right. So critical thinking is the big thing ultimately.
And of course, the clip with Dr. Temple, she was getting upset about doing to um, dogs what Dr. Temple was promoting doing to other animals was unacceptable. And this is always across the street. And I was like, wow, this place has a pig sitting in a cute little dog pose, like a dog waiting for a treat or waiting for a pet from the master. And this place is serving pig. So we just keep we just keep going further down the spiral of being more comfortable with speciesism in advertising. I'm like, look how cute the animal that we're eating is. So, again, it's a little bit discouraging um, when you think that you're going to make any progress, reminding people that these are cute, sentient, intelligent animals. It doesn't matter to anyone that pigs are more intelligent than dogs. And should we even be concerned about an intelligence level of an animal when we're deciding whether or not to torture? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this is, by the way, folks, a topic we're going to get into next week with Gary Yourofsky inevitably, about speciesism and the intelligence of animals and the supposed intelligence, the supposedly superior intelligence of human beings. And the other thing too, for me, I want to get into is propaganda, advertising, conditioning. Gary often calls it brainwashing, the most extreme word for it, which is a topic right there. But just that cute little pig. Oh, how cute. Let's go in and get a pig sandwich because pigs are so cute. Just that. I mean, just that. Wow.
And this goes right along with it. This is the humane disposal of that cute animal that you're about to go eat.
Has a good life and one bad day. Oh, and a lot of other bad days too, which we'll lie about to say it's just one bad day. Good morning, Leah. And as you put up her comment, hi guys, point is Temple Grandin promotes eating meat. And of course, by meat, we mean eating animals. I love animals. I care for them. And I'm going to promote eating them when we don't need to anymore.
Select animals. Select animals.
Thank you. Very good. Certain animals can be eaten. Others should be worshipped and adored. And we'll put you in prison if you put your dog in a car and put the window up and he gets hot.
Yeah, the worshiping of cows in India compared to how we treat cows here is a fascinating topic by itself.
Well, and complex. Did you see the movie Christspiracy, which visits India and gets, oh my God, Skyward. I mean, I kind of had heard this from my friend Tony Sagal, who's got a father from East India, a vegan activist and really good filmmaker, like you. And he's the one that taught me it's kind of BS. I mean, there's that strain in the culture. It's not any one thing, but there's an awful lot of cow abuse, real huge cow abuse and cow consumption.
Of course there is.
And torture to get the milk from cows in India, right?
I never once thought that there wouldn't be.
Right. Well, that's because you have I'm sorry, did I say dark? I meant accurate view of humanity.
I have 50 years of abusing humans to base it on.
You mean watching human abuse or you actually abusing humans?
Mostly the first. And we will have to have Leah. You'll have to come back on to say your own comments about this brainwashed human being put in the comments section. But Jackie, you have a lot to show us today, and let's get to.
Thank you, Skyward. This is so important to me. I mean, I'm a forest advocate before I was a vegan activist for 10 years before, at least. And let me just warm it up this way. Oh, wow. Great. Thank you. And that's funny. That's actually the image on my shirt here too.
How do you get that made so fast? Wow.
Well, I sent it off to a printer and this is the only shirt of its kind, this exact shirt, one of a kind in the entire known universe. So the California forest massacres, they say they treat forests to save them. They use chainsaws and masticators. We'll show what a masticator is today. They lie, of course. But here's the BS story. Oh, you know what? Let me go to the video because I don't have a lot. Maybe it's 10 minutes video total. But the way you and I do it, which is necessary, my friend, is to go really slow. I don't repeat propaganda for even 30 seconds uninterrupted. Otherwise, you're just repeating the propaganda.
Okay.
But there's a lot of propaganda going on in the forestry world, the so-called, I mean, even the word forestry right there is just, that's a misnomer these days, to put it mildly. So let me jump in, and then we're going to bear with us, folks, or bear with me, since I'm calling the shots here. But Skyward, call it anytime you want me to stop it, assuming I haven't stopped it already. This is going to be annoyingly herky-jerky, but that's the way it's going to have to be, folks, so we don't repeat the lies. Okay, so you're seeing a black screen. Perfect. So this is all of a 3-minute, 47-second video if we get through it all. If we get through it all today. And you can hear sound? You can hear sound.
I can hear it.
Okay. And this is in California State Parks. In California, Castle Rock State Park is a place I know. It's about 20 miles south of San Francisco, where I used to rock climb, sadly. Sadly, I would happily rock climb, but sadly, this is what they're doing there now.
Forest Health Initiative. Good Lord.
We have a mechanical masticator, also known as a forestry mulch.
Okay, sorry, got to pause it. Whee! So no picking on Ryan Dealer for me. Some, young man who thinks he's doing a good job with the California State Parks patch, and God bless these kids that come out of school and have to find a job somewhere. And at least, hey, he's working for Cal Parks. How cool is that? And he gets to help the land, or at least that's what he's taught. And he's an environmental scientist, whatever that means. I don't know what the degree is. I didn't do research to find out who Ryan Diller is, where he comes from, because it's not about Ryan Diller. It's about the agency, the bureaucracy, and the mindset that trains these sweet young men. I mean, what is he, 30 years old or 28 or 32 or something? So it ain't about him. It's about the industry, folks.
I was just telling CBS 60 Minutes in the UK yesterday. They were interviewing me about my film. And I said, I've lost so many good activists to science once they got their degrees, because then it became about just maintaining your income,
right,
and not about the trees or the animals or whatever originally attracted you.
Yeah. Actually,
Karen says she can't even stand to watch any masticators. I guess we're going to lose a viewer.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Corinne. I mean, this is, we got to show the world, because people really don't know what I mean. It sounds so kind of meaningless and innocuous. A blender, masticator, like whatever. It doesn't mean anything. It's chewing, technically, the word, but this is the, and you can see the gears in the front of that thing, the rotating drum with teeth. It's mounted horizontally to the land, and we'll talk about it in nice scientific terms from Ryan here.
Skid steer with a mulching head. A masticator is one tool that allows us to mimic the effects of fire, but in a safer and more
that thing's gonna mimic fire.
It mimics the effects of fire.
Come on,
but in a safer way. So think about that right there. In one sentence, there is so much non-truth.
Well, safety is all that matters.
How do you mimic the effects of fire with a grinding machine, and in a safer way? Because fire isn't safe for whom? For the forest, whom you're caring for, or for humans who are ignorant and afraid? And of course, the trick is there's a kernel of truth in this stuff, which drives it emotionally. It makes it work, resonate for people, which is, I'm afraid of fire, because fires can destroy houses, and has been. So that's why what's going on in the last few years is so just horrific and expansive. Everybody's afraid of fire, so we need to treat the forests. And here we go. And he's going to give actually in this video or the next one, I'm going to show the myth, which I want to get into, the overview, but I'll play more.
Changes the fuels, spreading them out over the landscape, and reducing our flame lengths when we do reintroduce broadcast burning.
I'm going to bring it back. I want to get people to get that whole thought there from Ryan.
That allows us to mimic the effects of fire, but in a safer and more controlled manner. It rearranges the fuels, spreading them out over the landscape, and reducing our flame lengths when we do reintroduce broadcast.
I can't understand some of it.
You can't understand the words?
Maybe it needs to be louder, or they just did a bad job recording, because some of it's not very clear.
Sorry. Yeah, it wants me to. There is a setting to change the audio recording with putting it on a tab, but I've got it on a separate screen. So because this is a QuickTime video I'm playing, I downloaded. I can repeat.
Are you able to? I can't raise the volume on my end.
Let me turn the volume and see whether that does it. I'm going to bring it back a little bit. I'm just going to play the same clip, and I'm going to crank the volume on my end, see whether that works. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me do one other thing with settings. Jeez. Okay, that's not it. Sorry, folks. Bear with us. Doesn't seem to do it. No, that should do it. Share a tab and said, no, that's the best I can do. Let's see. If it doesn't work, I'll. God damn it.
It is what it is.
Yeah, sorry, my computer is stalling at the moment. Entertain the troops with hand puppets. Looks like my image has been frozen. Okay, I'm back. And
our flame lengths when we do reintroduce broadcast burning during a prescribed fire.
Broadcast burning?
So they use the terms prescribed and broadcast burning.
The fuck is broadcast burning?
Well, I'd have to ask him for Cal Parks what they mean when they use that term. Ugh. It's, in my experience, and broadcast over a large area. So there are broadcast burns, then there's cultural burns by Native Americans, these different terms, and there's no scientific definition. And actually, the person who would know the details about how each agency like Cal Fire and Cal Parks use them would be Rick Halsey of the Chaparral Institute. But it's basically, this whole notion is we're going to introduce good fire to the land, which is controlled and smaller, not as extensive, not just a wild fire, because those are wild and uncontrollable. And because they're going to talk about catastrophic fire and high intensity or high severity fires, the idea is they want fire because they know it's good and we shouldn't suppress it, but we're going to do it smaller and safer with broadcast burns and prescribed fire, meaning a prescription. We're going to burn this area at a certain time in a certain way so it doesn't get out of control, and do damage, which is of course damage to humans. It's the primary focus is of course always on humans now, not actually what forest ecology is with respect to wildfire, and how there is no such thing, folks, get this, as a catastrophic wildfire. That's a human term fraught with emotion that the media loves to trumpet and expand and disseminate and share widely so that people are freaking scared of fire, wildfire.
As if what you said wasn't bad enough, after fire fuel is reduced, then humans build more human houses, which are the worst form of fire fuel.
Right. Well, actually, I was speaking, again, Rick Halsey is going to be a guest on a different podcast I'm doing with In Defense of Animals. I'll probably have him on this show as well if you're interested. But that's what he says. He says in his experience now, and he's got actually he was working for the Forest Service for a while and learned as a firefighter for, as he called it, a brief stint. So I don't know whether that means 6 months or a year or whatever. But he says the biggest danger is houses, not forests, because houses ignite easily and then they burn hotter. Right. And they're usually near other houses, of course, too, in communities. So it's not the forest, actually, the flame front. People have this image of a wildfire racing toward their house. And he says, no, it's embers, of course. That I do know. Firebrands, as the fire scientists call them. But, a storm of them, thousands and thousands of firebrands from a nearby fire or 1 mile away land on your house. And if you haven't treated your house to make it ignition resistant is the term, meaning pine needles in the gutters, leaves on the roof, dried or dead grasses against the side of your house. Those are the things that get ignited by just one ember and burn your house. That's a real danger, which you can treat your house for, rather than saying we have to cut everything away out there in the forest, which is what these clowns are doing.
I told you, it's worth sharing again, but I told you a really sad story about how a tree that was somewhat close to a house that had survived many, many fires in the past, because that's what trees do. They're designed to survive a normal wildfire. The house burning at a higher temperature caused the flames to last longer and reach higher, and took out a tree that had otherwise survived fires. It was the human home that endangered the tree, not trees endangering humans.
I mean, you and I totally, Skyward, and you and I totally agree that humans, as soon as humans enter the picture, it all goes to shit. Meaning, you said normal fire, and I'm glad you used that term, because the industry is always saying, these are abnormally hot or abnormally severe catastrophic fire. What really makes fires abnormally burn quickly and race through communities is, guess what?
Wind, drought, conditions.
Yes, all three. And also what these guys are doing, which is thinning a forest.
Oh, yes, yes. Well, that which increases the wind flow.
Exactly. Wind flow, it lets more sun in, as we're going to see here in pictures now coming up. When you thin a forest, what is this machine doing right there? What is it actually its purpose? In that image right there, there's a masticator moving into a forest and treating it. What's the purpose? I'm just having a conversation with you about this so people understand.
Do you want me to actually make a guess?
Sure. Why not?
At this moment, I guess they don't like the idea of fallen branches, and they're chopping it up into tiny pieces. Or
Very good. Exactly. You're spot on. In fact, if you look to the left of the picture, there's something kind of bright on the left side of the frame. That's a second masticator. So
I can see it.
So this is what they're doing and this is what I was fighting initially in the Tamaulipas Bay State Park issue, which is a local little place here in Marin County. But now it's expanded to 60,000 acres that are currently, 40,000 acres. 40,000 acres just in Marin County alone that is under attack. It's like 13% of the entire county is now targeted, as I like to say, for what this is, fuels reduction. It's not brush, it's not forest duff, it's not forest litter, it's not dead branches that will decay and become soil in the forests. No waste in a forest, no overgrown in a forest. Humans look at this and say, got to clean that up. It's messy and it's dangerous. It's fuel. That's all it is, fuel.
What percent did you just say?
Oh yeah, I did this number. I did these numbers. It's really friggin' terrifying. Let me bring that up here.
I thought you said 13, but maybe you said 30.
So here's what I did. There are currently, just in Marin County that I know of, at least 3 projects underway for fuels reduction, forest management, vegetation management. Those are all the same BS phrases, folks. Hear those phrases and know they're BS. Currently, those total 40,000 acres of deforestation projects. It's 3 different projects, one on Tamaulipas Bay State Park, one in coastal Marin, and now there's something called a shaded fuel break, Greater Mill Valley Shaded Fuel Break. They're going to cut a ring, like 20 miles of forest destruction around the town. Anyway, 40,000 acres. Marin County is 530,000 acres. The 40,000 acres of 530 is 13% of the entire county is now targeted for this
13%
forest destruction. And then I did this. Well, wait a second. All of Marin County is 530,000 acres, about 500,000 acres. How much of it is forested?
Yes, thank you.
Question, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I once in a while I get as thorough as you do, my friend, and it's a third of Marin County, or 118,000 acres, is forested. Conclusion: the project's 40,000 acres is 1/3 of forested Marin will be assaulted with industrial management of some kind. It's chainsaws, masticators, herbicides, or what I call artificial burns, as opposed to their fancy terms, broadcast burn, prescribed burned.
I was just wondering, when you put out a number like that, or anyone puts out a number like that, how many people's brains start with a vision of a heavily forested, healthy area and think, we can part with 13%. But the reality is we're already down to next to nothing, and we're taking more from that. Number 2, I've walked through forests where there have been fires, where branches were on the ground. And guess what? Portions of that branch still remain. And living creatures aren't just using that fallen burnt branch, but are dependent upon that fallen burnt branch. That is not what's happening here. That masticator isn't even close to replicating what a fire does.
Thank you. That and more. And this is the conversation. These ideas and these words and thoughts and pictures need to get out. I wish I could hire you as an independent filmmaker to just do what you do on this topic, because you do it really well. And we will later get to talking a bit about animals, which are never even, this gentleman on the screen never even talks about the effect of this work on animals. Oh, the animals will just move out of the way.
The ecological disconnect of these scientists is astonishing. And I unfortunately, I'm saying this with just about every fucking scientist that you see on TV now. I'm like, have you put the pieces together at all? And please remind me, if you will, in the future, I've got to show you my footage of what they did to Annandale State Park. And I was reminded of this because I saw in the Nature Conservancy newsletter that they were praising Annandale State Park. So I guess Annandale State Park is still doing what I already documented as one of the worst things I've witnessed in a long time, and they're repeating it. And when the Nature Conservancy is promoting it, I now have to think, uh-oh.
Cows.
Uh-oh.
That's what I think. When it's good, when a TNC is involved, I think cows. How are they going to bring in, prescribed herbivory, as they love to call it, because that's the fancy term for it. Ray Cooper says, we don't want it to burn, so we grind it up. Exactly, Ray. And it's even weirder than that. The guy acknowledges it can still burn, but see, what they're doing is they're making it a ground fire, a more controllable fire. And he's going to, it just gets crazier with this language here. It's become Orwellian. So this guy is looking at a dense forest, and he's going to get into it a little bit more and saying, no, that's dangerous. We want to make communities safe. So we grind it up and put his wood chips on the ground. And of course,
it's fire fuel.
Wood chips are still fire fuel if you want to look at it through the eyes of a firefighter, not an ecologist who knows, how the health of a forest is.
I've tested it. They do it in the urban landscaping too. Oh, we can't have, these plants here. So they chop up the plants and then they put wood chips on the ground to replace the plants. And I'm like, and so I literally just picked the wood chips up and put a lighter to it and said, do people actually think that this isn't fire fuel?
And
you just don't want anything to be alive.
Well, exactly. And that's the other thing too, is the animation. I forget the root of the word. There's all this discussion, and I keep thinking of like Nazi guards where they're moving things around and objects. Oh, wait, people. And there's never a discussion about that they're alive. It's just objects to be controlled and manipulated, and in this case, chopped up. Let's continue, shall we? We're having fun now.
A rolling drum with teeth on it that can take in larger diameter woody species like brush and small trees up to about like a Folgers coffee can size. And it will chip the material in place.
Whoa, hang on. What does he mean? Trees up to a Folgers coffee can size?
You tell me. I'm disgusted. I don't even want to play anymore.
Thank you. This needs to get recorded and shared. I'm sorry, even if I edit it down to 30 minutes. So that's the diameter of the trees. So he's so proud. This machine can topple trees and shred them up to, whatever a Folgers coffee can is. Let's call it 3 or 4 inches. 4 inches, let's say. Think about that. He can take down a 4-inch tree that's, I don't know, it depends on the species, 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old. Trees vary in their speed, but we're so proud. We can kill a living tree, which, by the way, is mostly water. It's not mostly wood. It's mostly water, folks. That's why you can't take a campfire and throw a green log on it, let alone a freshly cut tree. It won't burn. And then you chop it up, put it on the ground at the wood chips, like you just said, and then you have drying out wood chips, which have become flammable because you killed the tree, you fools.
As I often put, like sometimes you'll see them chopping up weeds, but then they leave the weeds on the ground. And even if you chop up the weeds during the winter, once you kill them, they suddenly switch into being fire fuel. Stop having the advantage of it being green vegetation. The people that are out there managing fire fuel are expediting things becoming fire fuel.
Exactly. In fact, as I say, that the treatment they're doing to prevent wildfire increases the chance of wildfire.
I agree.
They're making things more flammable, worse, more dangerous. And Father, forgive them because they're freaking clueless.
Spreading the mulch or the slash out across the landscape. Essentially, this thing doesn't get...
At least he did say both.
Jesus, that's more than a Folger can.
Exactly. And watch as he, listen to what him describe.
Do you hear the lovely little music?
You bet I do. And by the way, and the sound of the machine, which is pretty, I don't know, 110 decibels.
Oh, they're muting that out, huh?
They mute this. Well, of course, that is a loud ass machine. And it's actually, it just gets crazier. This is just a 3.5 minute video and I'm going crazy pulling my...
I'm not going to interrupt anymore because you're going to run out of time. I'll let you stop it when you want to.
Well, the important thing, Skylar, in creating this little 3-minute impromptu Zoom video or whatever we're doing here on this platform is that people hear all this. people need to understand, and I need to drive the point home. It's what Gary Yourofsky inspired me for his speech about, an animal holocaust and how we treat animals. And I knew everything he said pretty much, but because he went on for 40 minutes with a great deal of passion, it drove the point home. That's why you made a 90-minute film about Point Reyes, going on and on and on about cows and elk and killing elk and killing the cows too that we're killing the elk for. And I needed to see 90 minutes of what you created there, man. So I understood, and it woke me up in 2019.
And I'll repeat this in every show. 65% of wildlife require fallen trees or branches in their lifetime.
Say that again. I'm trying to.
65%. I should double check. I heard it from George Worthner, whom I trust. 65% of wildlife require a dead tree or branches as a part of their life cycle.
Yes, actually, that makes really good sense, because dead standing trees, the thing that these people, it's a dead tree, well, let's remove it because it's a fire fuel. Right. They're precious, precious animal habitat for insects to work on. And then the birds come and feed on the insects. And then there's, cavity nesters like woodpeckers, the blackback woodpecker that Chad Hansen is always talking about, the Sierras. And we have acorn woodpeckers and
storage. Become storage units.
Storage units. And then those cavities are used by other animals who live in there, like raccoons, arboreal animals. Here's the important point, folks. Calm down, Jack. Take a breath. There is no waste in a forest. There is no component, no element of a forest that shouldn't be there, that's messy or wrong or overgrown or needs fixing or healing or repairing or removing or grinding or chopping or masticating. Nothing. That's the beauty of millions of years of nature's evolution. And
what's missing is the element that you, the human, didn't consider. That's all. It's not that something isn't taking place. You just haven't thought about every step of the process, the very beautiful, intricate process of a tree changing from its state into something else. And in fact, trees are soil. I've got this amazing footage of a tree laying on the ground, and as I walked its length, it eventually just became the earth.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of, you walk the top of, I've done this with redwood trees where it's been there, it's sitting on the ground for 100 years or 50 years, and it's decaying and it gets bushy and chopped up, and then it just, so it's like an alluvial plain of a stream where it becomes the soil.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
It's cool. And it's beautiful and it's miraculous. And I keep thinking of a friend of mine who loved the movie Avatar and saw it 5 times because it was this amazing world of nature. And it's like, no, my dear friend, go out into nature. It's here on this planet. You don't need to watch a movie about some fantasy planet. It's here on Earth if we can only see. God, we are so blind to what's right. And not all of us. And God knows there's people who are listening to this who I'm hoping to wake up and go, yeah, that sounds reasonable. Maybe we shouldn't be bringing giant machines into the land, knocking down trees to make us safe.
The noise part, Jack, that them muting that out is huge. Like the chainsawing that I listened to forever in Annandale State Park that was just relentless. It's like, I can't imagine. I can't imagine being an animal and choosing to be anywhere near that sort of a disturbance. Even if you didn't chop down those animals as trees, they're not going to be anywhere near there. Not to mention the 20 uneducated, unskilled, cheap labor force that the State's Department hired. It's not like it's your educated biologists out there carefully selecting the trees. Oh, here, cheap migrant labor force. I mean, it's the same thing you see everywhere. It's just people saving a buck. I'm sure they were all thoroughly trained in exactly how many trees and which trees. And you wait until you see the disaster of Annandale State Park.
Where is that Annandale? That sounds familiar. Where is that?
It's in Sonoma, Santa Rosa area.
Okay, I've heard of it. I've probably seen it a sign, but I don't think I've wandered through it. It's north of me an hour or so.
It's actually a magnificent story about recovery once cattle were removed.
Wow.
And with the removal of these trees, I'm guessing we're going to see a reintroduction of cattle with the direction things are going.
Well, because as you said, then you're going to have, I mean, you use the term weeds and you and I get to banter that one back and forth, but it's basically when you destroy a forest like this, destroy a forest artificially, meaning bring in big machines and say, kill this stuff. Well, then you've compacted the soil, dried out the forest with opening up the canopy, as they say, more sun comes in, hotter, drier, just changes everything about the place, the chemistry, the soil. And then what happens? Well, these opportunistic hardy plants, which many people don't like, called weeds. A weed is a plant we don't like. That's all it means, non-scientific term. Those grow. And then, as you said, they dry out and become a fire fuel. So we actually create the problem we say we're alleviating. Yeah.
I gotta stress the importance of the opening of the canopy and the temperature change, because that's part of the burning conditions. Shit just gets hot enough, it's simply gonna combust. And in Santa Rosa, as a matter of fact, because it gets hot there, I spent so much time underneath trees that were taking the punishment from the sun. And I just was thinking, like a real tree hugger, I probably sounded like you. I was like, thank you, tree. And things are so bad now, you can actually see leaves burning, not burning, but being turned to brown, not from fire, but from the sun. And it's taking that punishment for us, keeping things underneath cooler. And what do? We repay them by chopping them down. But that's not the point. The point is removing them removes that barrier that we had of that heat and the earth getting hotter and those plants on the ground, those weeds. I am going to call them weeds. I don't care. Call them whatever you want to, people. Annuals. They're annuals that are incredible in their ability to live, survive, sprout out of the ground if you give them a tiny drop of water.
Pioneer species. Have you heard that term? Pioneers. They're the first.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Area. And then they'll grow up and create shade so that other more delicate plants can grow. They actually have
no. They're annuals. They're dead before that happens. So
I know. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted. Sorry.
Well, you think that those plants aren't going to erupt into flame faster under that burning hot sun when they're already dead and dry?
And to your, wonderful point about that tree being basically a big umbrella of shade and cooling and capturing a little bit of moisture. Well, usually in those fields, it used to be an entire canopy of forest.
Yeah.
Before we cut down all the trees, but leave one where you mentioned in another video where all the cows go to get out of the friggin' hot sun. They're standing in the shade of one tree. Yeah. When there were a lot of trees there, that forest collects fog. And the entire climate is cooled by trees. They're God's, I'm not a God person, but God's air conditioners and earth coolers, moisture collectors, food for, just trees are, I could wax poetic about trees and how much I love them and how hard it is for me to, people go to slaughterhouse and watch slaughterhouse footage, which is brutal to watch. I feel the same way when I watch this masticator, and I'm doing it and watching it again and again so that people get the message. These are carbon sequestering, climate cooling, perfectly evolutionarily involved ecological devices, whatever you want to call them. They're also trees. That's our little word for them. And this is what we're doing to them. This is the honoring and this is the lack of understanding we have of what a tree is. It's fire fuel. This shouldn't be here. There's too many of them. My God. In a climate crisis caused in part by deforestation, we're continuing deforestation and calling it fuels management, which just shows how clueless we are. Okay. Continue. Oh, God. I'm going to back it up just a second so we don't chop this guy's sentence.
The mulch or the slash out across the landscape. Essentially, this thing doesn't get rid of the fuels. It doesn't get rid of the plants and the material, but it does rearrange them from a more vertical position into a more spread out horizontal position.
Come on, Skylar. Come on, baby. Come to me. Give me some.
Really, it's too easy. I mean,
I know, but it needs to be repeated and repeated so people hear what this mofo.
Okay, because 50% of the time, like the goat grazing, are out there justified that even short annual plants can't be there, which are spread out because of its fire fuel. This guy's turning around and saying fire fuel is fine as long as it's spread out. Which is it?
Well, he doesn't want it in a... Well, Ray Cooper made the comment here, one of our listeners here, putting it on the ground. They're turning it from a vertical position which makes a big fire that goes into the air and creates a canopy fire and throws embers. True.
Fucking stupid trees.
Into
Who designed trees, man?
We're not removing the fuels. We're just rearranging them into a
We're just
horizontal
fixing God's mistakes again. Stupid
he
trees.
used, oh my God. We're going to get to that word.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's all here, man. These are just a few precious minutes, but it's so dense with the lies. If you just play this video for someone who doesn't know, and you have the lovely folksy music that Carl Parks put on, and you don't hear the noise of these machines, and you don't feel the death, the killing and the death and destruction and the insanity of this, you would believe it.
These guys are taking the fun away from the projects I like to do, where I would play music and then write the most absurd script I could think of.
They're doing it for you.
People aren't going to be able to figure out the difference anymore, because the actual scripts of scientists are as dumb as what I can come up with when I'm trying hard to sound dumb.
It's like the thing, when Trump came on the scene, it's like, how do we do jokes about this guy? Just play what he says.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Like, he's making fun of a person with a disease, like with a disability. Like, how do you do any worse than that?
Top to bottom.
God.
Top to bottom, we've got a big problem.
Landscape, which reduces our flame lengths when we do reintroduce fire during a broadcast prescriber.
Jesus Christ, all these stupid fucking terms.
Exactly, but scientific terms, because they have, degrees. So instead of like this group of trees he's deciding need to get knocked down because they're going to make a big crown fire, vertical, and throw fire into the air and big flame lengths, which is true, compared to mulching it, which is to say killing and shredding and throwing it on the ground. Then you have a ground fire, which he thinks is better somehow. All of this is so completely unnatural. And it's the bigger picture here, which I do want to get to and which we should talk about. It's humans, mankind, not humankind, mankind, who is not so kind, looking at this place and saying, it's wrong, it's flawed, it's dangerous, and we alone, we humans, because we're so smart and know so much, can fix it. And there's another video where they, of course, bring up, well, Native Americans tended the land. And
oh boy, we better hurry along for. Is that a separate show?
Well, this one's, yeah, God, this is what I wanted to do. I really appreciate this, Skyward. This is really important to me. And here we go. So Ray Cooper, nature is awesome, complex, perfect, and it's insanely ambitious to think. Sorry, to think you can improve upon her wisdom. Exactly. And even that, I know you just typed that out, Ray Cooper listener. So thank you, of World Peace Chocolate, by the way, a plug for that great man. But it's not just insanely ambitious. It's insanely misguided. It's insanely suicidal. We need more trees. And these mofos have targeted now a third of forest in Marin County for removing, which is to say killing, felling, cutting down, removing hundreds of thousands of trees. That's what's going to happen. Corinne, I was in a forest at the coast on Sunday, and the cypress was creating rain and actual pools of water. It was so beautiful. And then I found all these red X's on these really ancient trees. We spoke about this, Corinne and I, and that's usually an X means marked for death, as opposed to, hey, spare this one. So all very upsetting, insanely arrogant. Yes.
I resisted saying this before, but since she mentioned it, what you already described, the gathering of the fog. Well, the Presidio Trust is busy getting rid of that here, and they're going to change the entire climate here in the idea of doing something good. And I pointed out to my girlfriend while we were walking, I was like, you see this water on the ground here? She said, yeah. I'm like, it didn't rain. Why do you think it's right here? And we were underneath a cypress tree that had slowed the fog down long enough. It did not rain. Slowed the fog down long enough for it to accumulate to a point where it would actually fall like rain. You got to slow down the movement of water for plants to be able to enjoy that water, whether that is a tree doing it or whether it's ground cover, because otherwise you just have, if even in a case of rainfall, this is something that Laura and George made me think about. You just have water rushing over the top of now compacted soil instead of going into the soil.
Like cities with their storm drains. It all just
exactly. Nature is starting to resemble sidewalks and storm drains where the water just rushes off somewhere instead of doing what it was ever meant to do.
Well, destroyed nature is, yeah, where you kill the trees and turn it into baked, or then you put cattle on it to compact the soil so it becomes like concrete. I run on these trails here where I am in northern San Rafael, and it's like, you've been on cattle because the land, it's dirt, but it's packed so dense, nothing, not even, I mean, it would take 50 years for dandelions to force their way up through that.
But which plants will you see at least make an attempt every year, Jack, despite those terrible conditions?
Probably the annuals that are called weeds.
The European annuals, such as ripgut brome and slender oats.
I mean, that's why I call them pioneer species. But I mean, again, I demonize what humans do by killing everything. It's always killing, by the way. Management, it always is a euphemism for killing. Killing, killing, killing. That's what we do. So, shall we continue?
Introduce fire during a broadcast prescribed burn. Before the era of fire suppression, when fires were more frequent, from strikes on the ridges every 25, 30, 50 years, to even before, when native peoples were managing the land and were setting ground fires to produce food and fiber crops that were useful for them culturally. If we were to reintroduce fire to the landscape right now without first pre-treating it with mastication or hand-proof thinning.
Okay, sorry.
Fires.
Gotta pause it.
To produce food and fiber crops that were useful for them culturally. If we were to reintroduce fire to the landscape right now.
Okay, there. That's what I want to show. So, on the left is what was started, and then in the middle is what he's so proud of what they've done. They've deforested the land. These are foresters who are deforesters. And because he looks at the left and sees fire fuel of a dense forest, you can't see through it. And what he's done to it, what they've done to it with their machines, is basically destroy it. And
no joking, but the part in the middle is what looks ready to burn to me.
Well, Skyward. So yes, absolutely. But then this is the thing I learned from the Hills Conservation Network's Dan Grissetti, who was fighting the deforestation of the Berkeley and Oakland Hills against UC Berkeley, which wanted to do this. They were doing this is when I first saw these projects about 15 years ago. What happens to this landscape, my friend, 2 years from now? What's that going to look like? What will grow there?
I can tell you.
Please do so.
Annual fire fuel plants.
Exactly. What will be left in the wake of this will be much more flammable than what was there to begin with on the left side of the frame you're looking at now, folks. And then, of course, then what they do is say it needs to be treated every 2, 3, or 5 years. So a natural forest that didn't need any tending, it never does, nature left alone, self-maintained system now becomes something that we have to spend a lot of your tax dollars on, folks, to do vegetation management every frickin' year.
These guys create jobs for themselves by creating problems.
And the most insane thing, which we'll talk about with Gary, too, with how we treat animals as well, as objects to be manipulated and, of course, killed when they're young, as here, these people think the craziest thing is they think they're doing a good thing. It's not like the Nazis knowing they're killing. Well, actually, I guess you could argue they thought so, too, but I'm going to stay away from that one. They think they're doing a good thing. They're trained to think this is helpful.
I doubt it.
No,
I doubt it. I doubt if there's that much thinking. I think there's more of a, hey, my boss said do this and I'm getting a paycheck.
You will hear, I mean, this is where it's tricky. And perhaps you and I have a different opinion about this, Skylar, and that's fine. And I really look forward to next week's conversation, folks, with you, me, and Gary, who also has your kind of fire and impatience. And I know that I want to get along with people, the people pleaser stuff, which is good and bad. It's good and it's bad. But we might have a different take on this. At the end, this guy, Ryan, says how happy he is and how proud he is to be doing this work. And it strikes me as genuine. I mean, we'll get your take on it. I want your take on it because we're two different guys with two different views. We overlap a lot. We don't have to agree on this stuff. I just want people to decide for yourselves, folks. Look at what we're showing you. Listen to the language. Listen to the folksy music, and that you can't hear the machines. And there's no animals in this video showing how they love nature. The animals have cleared the F out of there. Is this what you want in your backyard? And it's not just Marin. I spoke to another activist, shout out to Josh Hart of the Feather River Action Network in Plumas County, California, which I'm now talking about for a specific reason. That's north of Tahoe National Forest, whatever it is, 3 hours drive from where we are in the Bay Area. And they've got a deforestation project, so-called vegetation management, which is deforestation project, same bogus 2 reasons, reducing forest fuels afraid of fire, and also even more BS, restoring forest health. Because the forests are stressed from climate crisis, so we'll cut into them to restore the health. We'll do more.
Would anyone agree
Hang on,
that?
just let me finish the point. Sorry.
Oh,
The acreage, 260,000 acres targeted by the U.S. Forest Service in Plumas County. That's their project. That's what I wanted to get out. That's how big it is. It's going to be attacking literally 1 million acres in California. The foresters actually say that. They want to treat all of California. All of wild California needs to be treated. That's
I feel like anything that has any resemblance to health or being lush or full of life is being deemed as unhealthy, which leads me to what I was about to say. Does anyone consider the presence of wildlife to be an indicator of health? Because you're not going to have wildlife in these places. And that's exactly what's happening with all of the goat grazing. There has been a drastic reduction in wildlife, native species and otherwise, in all of these areas. And yet it's supposedly being done for the sake of wildlife.
correct.
Show me the wildlife.
Well, and actually, look at this field here. They've created a barren field with tree stumps. Where are the animals?
Well, people could argue in their heads that they're going to come once this filming is over with, but
No,
why? Why would you go there?
So let's, I mean, if you don't mind me playing counterpoint off you, because I mean, you know this stuff too, we agree on it, but where are the bushes that birds hide in? Where are the standing dead trees called snags where woodpeckers make a home and raccoons live and opossums hide and skunks and bats and squirrels and skunks and chipmunks and on and on and on? Where do all those animals go? Well, they're in the left of this frame, in the forest, in the trees, folks. And I know the crazy thing is, I'm hoping people who aren't vegan activists or know me watch this, who love animals, because people love forests and love animals, but that is all wiped out with fear. Fear the forest. The forest, you have to turn you have to turn forest lovers into forest fearers. That's what's happening. That's the transition I write about in a blog about a war on nature, folks, on my website. That's what's happening, and it's really happening effectively, where people who, I'm in Marin, I'm an environmentalist, I love animals, but we need to thin the forest. I spoke to a woman this weekend, it just chilled me, who lives up in Shasta, some cool hippie chick. We would agree on so much, philosophy of life and beautiful of nature and panther meadows and stuff. And she was saying, well, we've seen what happened in Napa, so now we go and we do need to thin the forest.
Right. The fear thing just overtakes everything. I'm not going to think anymore.
Yes, Trump is a vulgarian, but hey, he is going to get rid of those Mexicans streaming across the border, raping our women and children. And then it's like, fear. And then there's rational thought, discourse, analysis, and on.
I resisted saying it, but yeah, it was like fear gets used in a lot of different places in order to accomplish a goal.
I bring him up a lot because this is the time when Jews need to speak up, because it's coming, man. It is coming now. They're taking people away without identifying themselves, with no habeas corpus to cite. Christy, no, I'm not one that is. Anyway, I can get into politics. I won't go deep into it, but I'm not afraid of the topic anymore. It has to be spoken. Otherwise, we're the silent ones in 1934, 1935 Germany.
Is ICE making them wear stars?
Well, not yet, no. But they're putting them in detention camps. And I was just reading this wonderful, incredible book about animal agriculture called Eternal Treblinka, which we'll talk about with Gary next week, folks. A special show at 9:00 with Gary Orofsky, and talk about the animal holocaust and why that's it's not just a fair comparison. It's more fair than you know. So a hint of next week's show.
You know why? Well, I say it when I drive past the hills of California, I'm like, how can anyone call this habitat? And it reminds me of the ranchers claiming that their pasture land is habitat. I'm like, what are you people picturing is taking place here? You think that the wildlife just magically appear once you leave? I mean, what do you think? This destroyed area is better than most of what I see in California now, unfortunately. It's that just desolate and 100% dominated by plants that aren't supposed to be on this continent. Like the fact that you can see trees here is better than most of what I see, especially including and not limited to ranch land, which, by the way, are not separate because the hills of California look the way they are because it is ranched.
Yes, exactly. Meaning forests were cut down so they can run cattle.
Yeah, except for maybe a tree or two for the cows to hide under briefly in the heat of the sun.
And
And
they
that's the wonderful thought process of ranchers. Well, let's leave a tree for a shade for the cattle.
or they put in
Fuck everything else that lives here.
or they brought in a row of eucalyptus trees as a windbreak to protect their house until they decided, let's demonize eucalyptus.
The highly flammable eucalyptus trees are the
Well,
windbreak.
Bay nature, California Bay laurels that contain more so-called volatile oils, which are essential oils and are more flammable than eucalyptus trees. But that's a whole nother conversation. So let's finish up here with this thing. Let's see if we can get through the next minute of this without interrupting. And of course, it ain't never going to happen.
Without first pre-treating it with mastication or hand-proof thinning, we would run the...
Okay, sorry. I lasted, 2 seconds? So this is that young, I think that's a young woman, it doesn't matter, whatever the gender, young person with a chainsaw. This is hand pruning and hand thinning, cutting down that, whatever that is, a 10-inch tree. That's hand pruning, folks. So you're going to do it by hand. Isn't that a good thing? Lovingly by hand. They're stewarding the land like Native Americans we saw earlier. Those wonderful.
He said hand pruning. Is that what he said?
Reintroduce fire to the landscape right now without first pre-treating it with mastication or hand-proof thinning. We would run the risk of initiating
hand crew thinning. I don't know if you could hear the word.
A high intensity, high severity fire that would top kill our hardwood trees that we're trying to protect.
Okay, so now we get into
fire that would top kill.
God damn it!
The audio is terrible.
So they're showing burned trees and saying, "Oh, how terrible this is." So I don't know where this is. They're not explaining, but so those are blackened trees. They're not dead. And there's a blackened tree in the foreground. I don't know whether it's dead or not. I need to see the whole tree. The ground looks like actually an actual real wildfire passed through there because it's not all destroyed with slash the way when they log in advance. And when this happens to a landscape, which is even the term high intensity fire is kind of a misnomer. This wonderful book here, Nature's Phoenix, The Ecological Importance of Mixed Severity Fires. By the way, by 2 PhDs. So I like PhDs just fine. Dominic Della Sala and Chad Hansen, 2 PhD scientists, explain in great detail with lots of science for people who need that because they don't use their own common sense or have been conditioned out of it with fear. Fires, natural fires lit by, whether it's by a campfire or by a lightning strike in an unmanaged forest that hasn't been pre-logged or pre-treated like this clown says, they don't burn evenly at high severity. There's patches of high severity. There's patches of medium severity. And as you were saying, there's certain areas where they don't burn at all, depending on the slope, the wind, topography, shifting winds, the way the wind is created by a big fire with lots of high intensity areas. It's going to blow in a certain direction, and then certain areas are completely missed. So forests aren't destroyed by fires, not even high severity fires. And there may be areas of high severity where many of the trees do die. That's also part of the natural process. Not all of that can be managed or should be, and they're trying to manage all of it and say no high severity fires because it destroys the forest. That's false. And don't take my word for it.
Be a child, people. Learn the way you did when you were a child. Walk up to the tree and peel off a piece of that burnt bark and look underneath. It's a healthy tree that was protected by its bark the way God fucking intended it to go down.
Yes, God fucking intended it that way. He was a peace-loving man, that planet fucker.
That mother.
And then this other wonderful book, it's backwards on the screen. Strangely Like War, The Global Assault on Forests by Derek Jensen and George Draffan, Draffan. Wonderful book. You can get it used online, folks. Strangely Like War. And this is what's happening now. We are waging a war on our forests. Please wake up to the fact that we're doing that and don't support these programs in your community. That's my coming up in the top of the hour message here. Should I continue if I can?
Well, find a good ending spot, unless that was it.
Would top kill our hardwood trees that we're trying to protect. It's a really important tool in forestry because it has the ability to treat large acreages in smaller amounts of time with reduced costs. So that when we do burn, we reduce the fuel loads, we safely reintroduce fire, but we don't actually kill the black oaks that we're trying to protect.
So they're saying we want to protect black oaks so everything else can go. We decide what's important. It's a good native species and we're worried about them. They may be suffering from drought or climate crisis, whatever. So we know what's best. We're going to kill everything else because, of course, we're completely clueless to the fact that everything is connected under the soil anyway by mycorrhizal fungi. So maybe we'll leave it here as part 1, and depending on what we do, well, we're going to do Gary next week. We'll do another part 2 and finish the other half of this 3.5-minute video. I really thank you for indulging me in this, Skylar. It just makes me crazy, and I do want to keep this short and stick around 10 o'clock if that works for you.
Yeah.
As you can hear, I'm full of, fire about this topic. I just, because I'm seeing the places that I, as a new, relatively new animal rights activist, I go into the forest to get some peace and quiet, and
can't find that.
And you can't find that, as you well know, where you've lived. Exactly. You can't get away from human machinery and destruction and killing and death of nature. So please, folks, wake up. Please share this video. We're going to keep it to an hour here with us. With me, I could blab away another hour, obviously. Let's see. Laura says whole food, plant-based for the environment and health, vegan for the victims. Sign the plant-based treaty. Sure. And Corinne on the topic, it's so important to leave dead trees, plants, and branches in the forest floor. There is no waste in a forest, folks. Protect your house, by the way. Everyone's rightfully concerned about forest fire. I will add this note in context here. You protect your house with home hardening treatments of your house so it doesn't ignite, including from embers from faraway fires that are not a threat to you. The forest won't going to burn you. Treat your house, defensible space, immediately around your house, and leave wild forests be. Leave them alone.
An honest doubter says natives used silviculture. We use silvikilling. I think a lot of people are trying to feel better about, or the people in charge of this are successfully manipulating the use of Native Americans for white people. It doesn't have to be white people. I just tend to villainize white people as being the people in charge. But, for whatever flaws the Native Americans had, burning certain areas for certain reasons, I'm going to say that they didn't do it to protect huge housing communities. They did it for food reasons. Where that's a pretty big difference, because when you were saying something a minute ago, you were justifying hardening your homes, and I was like, yeah, or you could just have a simple home that you can pick up and move when you need to.
I mean, yes, of course, Guy. The bigger problem is we put a house in the woods. I mean, I saw this when I lived in San
Francisco. People.
You put a house in the woods, and then you're new from the city. You have a contractor. You didn't build the house, or maybe you did, but it's put in the woods, and then you're afraid of the forest. And I saw neighbors in San Geronimo Valley in West Marin County who should know better, and they're cutting down lots of trees because all of a sudden they said, "Oh, it's kind of shady and dark in here. I want more light, or I want a view, or I'm afraid of fire." These 3 different reasons. I want more light. I want a view, even though I put my house in the woods, and I'm afraid of fire. And that is a problem. And for me, I'm a pragmatist. So it's like, people aren't going to stop building houses in the woods, though I wish they would. But at least understand you can protect your house without killing everything around you as well. So, and then driving out the animals.
Speaking of views, I'll let you get pissed off at this one. When they aren't using the ecological excuse of historical plants, in another area, they use the excuse of chopping down the cypress trees to give people an unobstructed view of the graveyard here. Because that's important. Who doesn't want to look at gravestones instead of trees?
Well, and of course, when you say graveyards and gravestones, you're saying it from the human point of view.
It's important.
I'm just going to say, what you do is you create a graveyard of trees in order to see the graveyard of humans. You cut down the forest, which is a graveyard of trees, which are these magnificent, intelligent, sentient beings that create life on this planet and made our existence possible. And we don't even see them as living. I mean, as a vegan activist, it's hard enough to get people to realize a cow is like a dog. A pig is like a deer. All beautiful, gentle animals with unique personalities. Imagine my plight in the forest world of trying to understand a tree is its own kind of intelligence and wisdom and love and beauty and providing ecological service by its very existence. And there's one scene here coming up, which I'm not going to go into. Corinne's saying go on longer, but I do want to keep it compact as we can, Corinne. It's kind of a nice bookend place here.
For
And
those of you who are at peace with killing trees, don't go learn about trees. Don't read the books called "The Secret Life of Trees." Don't understand their complex relationships that they have with other trees and other living creatures. Don't learn any of this. Just keep yourselves stupid and the most intelligent species at the same time.
And in case it's not obvious for anybody, I'm hoping new that sees this broadcast eventually, this recording, this guy and I, in our similar in different ways, love nature deeply, and that's why we get pissed off and angry and curse and cuss and do what we do to rant about this stuff, because we want this stuff protected, and it's really upsetting. If the more you care, the more it hurts. That's the plight of the activist.
There we go. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you, Skyward. So again, next week, folks, our special guest, world famous in the vegan world, vegan activist Gary Yourofsky, who probably single-handedly converted more people to a vegan life, not a lifestyle, but hey, I don't want to keep torturing animals every day than any other human on earth. That's probably true, especially considering the disciples, the people who learned from him and went on to do their own activism. He's on next week, 9 o'clock, Tuesday, August 26th, and he'll be on for at least 90 minutes. And it's also going to be a fundraiser for his charity of his choice, Sasha Farms. So please join us then. Please like and share this video. This needs to be seen by a lot more people, so people wise up and don't acquiesce and let nature get destroyed as it is right now.
They will, until there's a fire near them, and then all their reasoning will go out the window.
Well, hopefully, if they see this, listen, this has been good cop, bad cop. We're fucking doomed. It's all going to burn. I'm like, no, people can see this and they'll understand, and then they won't sign on to these projects and let them go under the radar like they do right now.
Are you younger than I am? Your positivity and naivety indicate that you are much younger than me.
Well, there you go. Optimist, pessimist, buddy. Like, what are you, an idiot? The glass is half empty. In fact, it's 2/3 empty. And I'm like, yeah, but it's still a third full, buddy. Well, come on. And it's, both are needed, man. That's why we work well together. We play off each other. Both attitudes have merit, man, in my opinion. But that's optimistic right there. We're all doomed. We're all going to die. Whee!
See everyone here next Tuesday, 9 a.m.